What's up, everyone? It's New here. It is time for, I suppose, a day 5 review of the league. Sorry I didn't come out with a day 4. I didn't feel like it was terribly necessary. I was just on the grind, doing some currency earning strategies. Big secret strategies, you know. I'm definitely not going to come out with anything in the near future. Just kidding. But my goal this league, after making the build guide, was to complete the gear set within under 1 full week. And I have done it. Yes. It is done. By the end of day 5, honestly, by the end of day 4, I basically had it done. I was only missing like a couple of pieces, luxury pieces, like the glove and amulet corruption combination. But it is totally done. This build is has exactly everything featured in the build guide that I posted, that POB, as well as some additional things, some things that are go a little bit beyond it because, you know, out of convenience of doing that. So, I'm going to take you straight down to the POB, where we can take a look here and see that this is my POB for the guide. You can see 1,115,000 DPS. Everything is in order there, the exact same gear set. So what I'm going to do here, just to show you where I'm at exactly in comparison to this, we're going to go and import my character. Not 98, it is 93, level 93, so 2 levels higher than I was before. That's nice. By the way, I'm also indirectly showcasing to you how exactly you would plug your own character in to compare the DPS, because there is something you do have to do. So I've now imported it, and I need to go into skills. And for both the Tornado Shot, Self-Cast, and Ballista Totem setup, you need to enable or click Include Full DPS under the Skills side in the Tornado Shot tab. Crank it up to 4 count because that's how many arrows you have. You have that many arrows on both, so do it on the Ballista Totem setup too. And there you can see, now full DPS, it says 1.4 million. So you can see I'm well above the mark of the DPS guide. Now there's a few reasons for that. We'll get into how I did that, but it's nothing crazy, just slightly better gear than the build guide suggested. Incidentally, I do want to share with you guys what happens. Actually, never mind. I'm going to hold that off on that. I'm going to hold that thought. I'm going to get to it a second here. Let's start with the passive tree. It looks literally identical, except there's 2 additional points because I'm level 93 instead of 91. There's 2 additional points with one with nature. I went ahead and chose these because actually, currently, I'm barely under resistance cap with the Bismuth Flask. And that's okay because I got a bunch of shrines, but I'm at like 74 already. So I was a little surprised to see that, but that's in part because, you know, I removed the elemental mastery here, but that is part of the build to be that. So you will want to double check your elemental resistances once you make the switch to physical conversion and drop out of here. Gonna have to get the rest of the elemental resistances on a cluster jewel like this. Okay, this is just picture perfect example of kind of one of the cluster jewels that I had in mind. The strength roll is good. The all res roll is good in this case. Down here I got the chaos res. All attributes is fine too. Just 25%ers, nothing too crazy. They both have 3 valuable rolls. It was a little bit expensive to get these. I did craft... yeah, I crafted both of these actually. I think it took around 100 chaos on each to get, so a little bit more than I would have liked. But I could have settled for less. I could have settled for, like, you know, just 2 mods that are good for way less than 100 chaos. But you know me, I like to go a little bit above and beyond. The Inspired Learning was the big item. It cost a whopping 5.5 Divine Orbs. Now, I had no idea that this item was going to be as expensive as it was. I'm really not 100% sure why. It must be dropping rarer. But I mentioned in the build guide that I thought that this item would be worth less than ever before on account of the changes to rares. And, you know, it kind of deserves to be. But in my opinion, it is actually super powerful, especially if you're running a build like mine. So it's perfectly reasonable to pay a price like that. Incidentally, Headhunter is also way more expensive, I guess. It's like 95. This jewel is 1/20th of the cost of a headhunter, and it certainly offers you a lot more than 1/20th of the power. It's probably about a quarter of the power, at least a quarter of the power, but yeah, a third of the power, a quarter of the power, effectively, as a headhunter. And so absolutely worth getting. I went ahead and got the reservation efficiency because they cost 5 divines, and then this one was 5.5 divines, so why the hell not would I pay an extra half a divine to get this implicit, which means I didn't have to settle for it over here. I was able to get a little bit of a stun avoidance. I also got a reservation efficiency version of this for like 1 chaos. I kind of sniped it there, so that jewel is there as well. So that's all there is on the jewels. Let's take a look at the... Actually, let's go straight to the gear here. Now, yeah, on the well, I'm forgetting what it's called. Anyway, we got a lionized glare, an actual perfect lionized glare. This is not going to be something that everyone can get, but I have been watching the, shall we say, top 2 percentile of rolled lionized glares. Keep pinging on my live search over and over and over. These things are showing up for dirt cheap. They're like 2, 3, 5 chaos. I'm talking top 2 percentile rolls, okay? So it's not a huge difference. Now this is literally perfect, so it's nice. Now I did pay a full Divine Orb for this. Again, just going a little more luxury on my side. I'm actually planning to just use this bow all the way to the point in which I get like the last bow, whatever it is, a mirror bow or something, you know, at the very end. I don't really see a huge point in like getting an intermediate step. I don't think I'm gonna get a lot out of it, to be honest. So I'm gonna settle for this bow here. The quiver is corrupted, actually. It has 1 useless mod, basically 3 mana per enemy killed, but you'll notice that compared to the build guide, it's actually way better than the quiver there, and I'm definitely getting a lot of extra damage. Even the corrupted implicit, I didn't notice this at first, but the corrupted, it actually, so it's a heavy arrow quiver, not a blunt arrow quiver. So I thought it was a blunt arrow quiver because of physical implicit roll, but no, that's actually a higher tier physical roll than a blunt arrow quiver. So the corruption is actually very good on this. It's essentially almost the same as a blunted arrow quiver, though. I also got another physical damage to attacks rolls. They're very good for this build, but not absolutely necessary. Good tier rolls on everything else. The damage with bows, the critical strike multiplier is also a good roll. And of course it has good life, and then the mandatory additional arrow. So it's actually a lot better. And I think this was also 1 Divine Orb. And then the Gull was the first big item I got. Definitely the right decision to get this first because it absolutely increased player power in a way unlike literally any other item that I had did. And this was 1.5 divines. I'm not sure what they cost now. I assume they're a little less. Could be wrong. Not sure. I've got a... Oh, and let's see. It took me... I forgot to mention, it took me about 1,000 fusings to 6-link this. So that's actually a very typical result, considering it was hillocked to 30%. And it honestly should be hillocked to 30%. I didn't put that in the build guide, but definitely should. They only cost like 40 or 50 chaos right now. And then it increases your chances. You're going to save on average like 200 fusings for paying for the hillock. So I think you honestly come out ahead on that exchange. Daros's Defiance 5-linked. It's a very good roll, good base, and you know, I'll 6-link this eventually. It's not really that necessary. Then we got... Now the reason I held off on making this video until the 5th day instead of the 4th day is because of these gloves and this amulet. This amulet is a real headache, honestly. I missed the boat a little bit. So I had live searches set up for these implicits, and I just refused to buy them because I was just being picky, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wait till it's a better roll, or you know what, I'm just going to wait until it's the last thing to get, or you know what, I'm just going to wait because I think the price might go down. Well, I kind of screwed myself over. Apparently, I think some of you guys were buying some of these items. In fact, I know of at least a couple people who had this set up already and probably got it for a lot cheaper. I ended up having to corrupt both of these myself. And incidentally, the gloves is a good idea. It's actually a decent idea to corrupt your own gloves because you could hit vulnerability or despair, and those are also worth like a divine or something on these gloves. These gloves are very unique. They're very, very underrated, and there are some people who play in leagues who know how good they are, especially on account of being able to get a curse on hit, essentially very easily on these. So players who want rampage on their gloves and a curse on hit on their gloves, like we do, they're paying a lot. So this is true for Toxic Rain, Caustic Arrow, or some kind of physical damage build for vulnerability. And all three of those implicits are worth a lot, actually. And +1 Frenzy is also valuable. +1 Frenzy you could use straight away as a, you know, temporary one. And so that's a really good idea. These gloves cost me about 1 chaos each time. So 1 chaos, I put 1 chaos, 20 armor scraps, and a Val Orb. And I had to do that about 100 times to hit this. And that's pretty, I think I got maybe a little bit unlucky, actually, because I'm pretty sure if you check the weightings on that, should be a little bit more often than that. What is not so wise is trying to do the amulet yourself. Now, the problem with the amulet is that literally every other corruption is worthless. Even +1 max all res is worthless. Mainly because people have to anoint it after anyway, so nobody's going to pay for that to anoint it afterwards. Also, the additional curse has half the weighting as most of the other mods. Also, there's more mods on the list. Also, it has to be eye level 60 plus. So there's a whole lot of variables against you. But the primary roll really doesn't matter compared to Worm Scale. You'll notice that the Worm Scale gloves, Worm Sign here, are actually very well rolled. And so, I mean, plain uncorrupted Worm Sign gloves of like top 5 percentile rolls are still only worth 1 chaos. So it's nice to just slam a bunch of Val Orbs into them, see what you get. And, you know, you're not going to sell hardly any of them except ones that end up with curse on hit, basically. Or, of course, you know, you hit the jackpot, you get the one you want. But yeah, the amulet's here, it's anointed, it's done. Now I have this, and I'm actually going to take a second here to show you just how much more damage this gives me. Because you might be thinking, well, you know, that's crazy. This is like a huge headache. You're going to corrupt these things like 100 times. The amulet I probably corrupted 200 times, right? You say, oh my god, you're going to do that? No, I mean, you can buy it. You can be patient and buy it. I mean, they have shown up. The amulet and the gloves have shown up periodically with these corruptions for about 1 divine each in the last 3 days. But they are hard to come by. Fewer people are playing now, I guess. And also, there's more demand because of the build guide I made. Very niche items. But again, the gloves, absolutely you can get this implicit yourself, just slamming 100 of these out on average, and then it'll be obviously a bit tedious, but it can be done, and it's not going to really affect your bank negatively other than the time you wasted not mapping. But the amulet I do not recommend. I recommend waiting on that. So let me show you here. If I take these gloves, so I'll just take the gloves here. Let me find the gloves, and I'm going to edit them. I'm going to remove the curse on hit. And this is going to allow you to see just how much extra damage this is giving me. So I'm just going to take this line here. I'm going to literally delete it. I'm going to hit save. I go from 1.4 million down to 1.112. Okay, that was like a 20% DPS. So that shows you right there. That extra curse, and implicit on the gloves is basically giving you 20% more DPS. Which, you know, you tell me if that's worth a couple Divine Orbs. In my opinion, it is. For a build that costs about 20, I guess this league it's costing more than I expected, but it looks like it's costing around 20 Divine Orbs, or no, less than that. Sorry, less than that. Maybe 10 to 15 Divine Orbs. Probably no more than 15 Divine Orbs. That's a huge amount of damage increase, so it's absolutely worth considering. Now, the only reason you might want to skip over it, and a decent reason to skip over, is because Omniscience is only 17 Divine Orbs, I guess, or 15 Divine Orbs right now. So one of the next big upgrades is Omniscience, and you'd have to change your flasks around again, so that's going to be a headache. But don't sweat it too much. If you really can't get those corrupted, just wait until you get Omniscience. You know, you farm a few divines an hour, and then just get that in the meantime. So let me come back in here and edit this again. I think this is where it goes. I hope so. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm actually going to edit my amulet. Now watch what happens. So I've looked at a few POBs before, and some people who have problems with DPS. They get the gloves, but they don't get the amulet, and they don't. I guess they just don't realize it, or they forgot or something. This is sometimes overlooked. I tried to hit this real hard at home on the build guide to make sure you don't forget. Watch this. So remember, I was just doing, what was it? It was like 1.12 million without the corruption. Now watch what happens if you just don't have the amulet. 900k. I just lost like 35% damage of my damage, DPS or whatever. Now what the reason is because now the curse on hit on the gloves is overriding Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark gives you a lot more DPS overall on average than the Element of Weakness does. Both are very good, but Sniper's Mark is just a clear winner across the board. And so make sure you do not put gloves with a hit curse on hit implicit without the amulet. I cannot stress that enough. You have to have 2 curses. Boom, 1.39 million. The 2 curses are Sniper's Mark, which is right here, and the glove implicit. Curse enemies with Element of Weakness on hit, 48% increased effect. That is, by the way, that is a 29%. I think, if I remember correctly, that's 28 or 29%, depending on how that roll, implicit roll, doesn't matter a whole lot. 28 or 29% additional damage taken by enemies, which incidentally is, with the recent nerfs to Omniscience, is worth about a third of the value of Omniscience. So just the corruption implicits on both your amulet and that, and then obviously you got a lot of mods on your amulet too, right? You get 30% projectile speed, 10% movement speed, 20 strength, 30% additional damage. Honestly, if my napkin math is correct, I'm guessing that this setup with the double corruption implicits is worth about half of an Omniscience, where both the amulet and the gloves are uncorrupted. Almost half. So that's pretty good incentive to do that, to get that, if you can get it. And, you know, these cost like 2 or 3 Divine Orbs. Omniscience costs 15 Divine Orbs. So you do that math in your head. You see how important it is or how good of an idea it would be. Plus, you don't have to jog your flasks all around again and again and again. Okay, so the Taming is still here. It's well rolled. I did go ahead and put Catalyst on it. They cost like 1 chaos apiece. Floating enough currency to do it. The ring, I think, is the same as it's been for a while. I do like the 12% damage taken recouped as life. It is kind of nice just having even more. I did Catalyst this up too. Again, they're about 1 chaos apiece. Okay, I am looking for a ring upgrade. I will probably purchase a Strength Intelligence Chaos Res Amethyst ring and actually meta mod craft the life onto it, and then Redeemer Orb slam it and bench craft the last thing is probably what I'm going to do. So I'll have basically perfect suffixes, and then the prefixes will be guaranteed good. Even if the Redeemer Orb's kind of crappy, it's still fine. Okay, but that will be obviously at least a 2 divine ring, if and when I do that. Soulthirst does have a corrupted implicit. This is where I'm getting a little bit of extra damage. I actually don't really care that much for this implicit. I know a lot of people are drool over the increased critical strike chance during flask effect. Look, honestly, half of the implicits are better than this. I'd rather have % life. I'd rather have movement speed on flask effect. I'd rather have hatred effect. I'd rather have, I might even rather have grace effect. I'm not sure. But I'd rather have % stats, because % stats will be probably the best implicit when you put Omniscience on. So it's not a bad idea to set a life search and constantly Valorb Soulthirst that come up there for, you know, decent. Now I have a 20% reduced flask effect duration. I'm settling for 23% or better, and then a high life roll, and I am just valing 2-3 chaos Soulthirst right and left on them. So I'm hoping to get either like movement speed on flask effect now, or even like all res would be fine, or % stats will be like the big one to put me in good shape. Let's look at the flasks here. I did go ahead and get the Hillock 28% flask. I mentioned in the build guide this is a good upgrade to do after you reach the point where you should. Everything else looks the same there. Taste of Hate I do have now. Now this, let's see, this was I think 1.5 Divine Orbs to get a perfectly rolled one. You don't have to have a perfectly rolled one. You can settle for one that's a little less for the time being. I went ahead and Hillocked this one too, because when I get, yeah, like even when I switch to Omniscience, I'm still going to use this flask, even though I don't need the res. Okay, Jade Flask and Quartz Flask are sort of baseline. They're nothing super special, and I will probably replace those pretty soon. The Quicksilver Flask is basically endgame. I did find one of these for fairly cheap. Not too bad. Not too bad. These are actually double tier 1 rolls. The movement speed is unfortunately bottom end on that roll, but that's still fine. Replica Conqueror's efficiency is not corrupted. Incidentally, the next, probably the most useful upgrade for me to get next is corrupted blood on this, implicit on this jewel. I've seen it show up periodically for like 3 divines. Maybe 4 or 5 divines. I would pay at least 5 divines for it if I had the cash on hand. Corrupted blood is kind of a big deal. This build is missing it. Inspired learning really helps. Like when you're running a lot of inspired learning buffs, you don't feel corrupted blood at all, really. But you know, you're not going through the map with a bunch of inspired learning buffs all the time. And yeah, it absolutely primary cause of death for me at this point is corrupted blood. Ignites and poisons aren't terribly bad. I think bleeds can be kind of rough, but really it's the corrupted blood primarily. Mantra of Flames could also use corrupted implicit, and it might get it on here too. Usually I actually get corrupted blood implicit on the Mantra of Flames, but it's a lot more expensive this league than most leagues for some reason. But it is going down. It is going down pretty fast. Yeah, so that's all the jewels. That's all the gear. Now let's take a look at the skills here. We got Tornado Shot, Anomalous, of course. One thing I've done beyond the build guide is I went ahead and got quality 20% on every single gem that is worthy of looking at. Actually, I should probably turn around and buy it. Awaken elemental damage with attack support, assuming it's around 1 Divine Orb or less. I am floating at least a couple Divine Orbs right now, so I think I should probably purchase that literally like as I close this video out. So some of the gems are not level 20 because I went ahead and I was strategic and using my currency wisely. I went ahead and purchased a lot of these gems at level 1 with 18% quality or whatever, and then just used a few gem cutters, got them up, and then re-leveled all of them, went ahead and sold the other ones I had, so honestly made currency in that process. Yeah, those are all good there. We got the Ballista Totem set up here, so it also needs Anomalous, and then everything else is there in place. Oh, this one is the only one that I don't have yet because I know I'm about to replace this gem anyway, so I didn't worry about that one. Mortal Call and Increased Duration. Quality serves them very good purpose. Val Haste and Life Tap do not need any quality at all. Sniper's Mark, Mark on Hit, also good value for the quality. Their Dash with now a Divergent Dash. Again, another upgrade beyond what the build guide initially suggested for the phasing after dash. Very useful there. Defiance Banner, 20% quality. Right now, currently running... Oh yeah, Vitality does not need quality either. Herald of Purity doesn't really need quality. It makes your minions a tiny bit stronger, so it's not bad. Herald of Purity is the best single target option. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's the best one. I think it's the best option overall. If and when I start doing like Legion Breach on Dunes, which I think is a strategy I'm going to try pretty soon, I'll probably do Herald of Ash for that strategy. I actually went above and beyond here and bought level 21 Hatreds and Graces. They were actually pretty cheap, surprisingly. 30, 40 chaos apiece. So it's nice to get that knocked out. Both of them, neither of them get any value out of quality. However, Hatred, there is Anomalous Hatred, I think, which is technically better than level 20. So 21 Anomalous. Level 21 Hatred is better than level 20 Anomalous Hatred. So it's not that huge. I can't remember what the quality gives, but there's the Elemental Weakness, the Shrines, and that is all of there. One last look at... I guess we can just kind of show this here, in case you want to see any of the calculations. It's all here. Not a whole lot else to say. I got an effective hit pool of 67,000. That's a tiny bit more than what the build guide suggested. Right at 3k life, and literally right at 3k life. Yep, it's all there. It's all there, my friends. So that's it. That's the build guide, and the next points that I'm putting, I'm not even 100% sure where I'm putting the next point in. At 92, I put the point in mana on hit. At 93, I dropped that, put 2 points in here. Honestly, can't remember. You know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put points in spell suppression, honestly, because I'm only capped on spell suppression during the phasing flask, so that's not 100% of the time. But I mean, it's effectively 100% uptime. I'm gonna suppress like 99.9% of spell hits in any given map. Basically, is what that means. And yeah, that's it. So you know, if you have any questions about the POB or anything there, let me know. But yes, it is done. It is absolutely done, my friends. Really happy to report that. And I'm going to celebrate by attempting to double corrupt the other bow I had. Now this thing is worth at least 1 Divine Orb right now, but I would rather have a little bit of fun and try to give this thing a good old hit from the Locus of Corruption, which is on this map. Because if I do successfully double corrupt this one, it's also like a top 2 percentile physical roll, and if it successfully double corrupts into something, it could be a lot better potentially than even the perfectly rolled one. So I would love to see that. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Just celebrating. It's not the smartest thing in the world to do. I should probably turn around and sell this thing. It's already 6ling. Yeah. I think a little showmanship is in order here. Earned the right to celebrate and give a test the streamer client really for the first major time this league here. Now, last time I double corrupted anything, it was a very, very well rolled Mage Blood ×2. So let's hope the game forgot about that. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's gone. Well, there you go. I got a lot of RNG to build back up. So that's fine. Whatever you do, do not double corrupt it unless you have a backup. So it's still fine. Yeah, I still got this one. Not a big deal at all. All right. Then I am going to showcase one map, naturally. So what I've been running recently is Crimson Temple, go figure. And I'm actually doing something a little cheeky right now. I am corrupting them, but I'm not just running 8 mod corrupting. I'm corrupting them manually, so sometimes I corrupt into unidentified. And this is actually a great opportunity to run this sexton here, which is super cheap. God, it's so cheap. I can't believe how cheap it is. It was like 20 chaos or less for an elevated pack size on unidentified maps. Just goes to show how much people have given up on any form of juicing whatsoever. I got elevated gloom shine that gets the extra shine. This really, really helps with the loss of domination on the map device. So remember, domination gives us 4 free shrines, which was a total of 8 random shrine effects. With an elevated gloom shrine, I get a gloom shrine plus 3 random shrine effects. So that's actually way more than half as good. In fact, if you just ask me outright, would I rather have 8 random shrine effects or 3 random shrine effects plus a gloom shrine? I would absolutely choose the latter. Absolutely. But it does cost a sextant, whereas it does not cost the Keurig Benchcraft choice, which is going to be ambush for 4 additional strong boxes. You know, I don't have a whole lot of comments on what people are saying with the state of the game. I mean, everybody's all doom and gloom. I'm not able to make currency fine, and there are some streamers out there who are actually not on this gloom and doom bandwagon that everybody is on. I'm very much up to date with it because I've been working the last couple days, and when I'm at work, I got lunch breaks and commuting breaks and stuff, and that's when I check the forums, I check the YouTube videos. I've seen what Kobe says, seen what Polar Bear says, seen what Zizarin said, seen what Ziggy said, seen what Path of Math has said, seen what Snap has said, MP has said, you know, all of them. I've seen all those videos, Gazzy, all of them, and I'm reserving judgment. Basically, I'm still reserving judgment because I haven't actually hit the end game yet of juicing to see. It's not that I don't believe what they're saying. It's just that I am a little skeptical as to the degree of doom and gloom. Basically, I'm under the impression currently, this is my general impression right now, is that ultra mega juicing league mechanics for the sake of quantity and rarity on league specific mechanic monsters has been nerfed to the ground. But that's a very niche thing if you think about it. So perfect example of that is Alva juicing, running Delirium. Okay, so running like 100% Delirious. And then running Alva in there, that's a very typical mega juicing strategy. So that specific strategy has been nerfed to the ground. Running abysses, like winged abyss scarabs, elevated abyss sextant, 5 abysses, 300% increased monsters, whatever. Sounds like that has also been nerfed very much. But you know what hasn't been nerfed a crazy amount? Strongbox. This still works. 500% increased item quantity. And one of my viewers had said a while back that they think I probably agree with this. The suggestion is that Ambush and Strongbox, those monsters that spawn from there never had an increased multiplier on them. So if anything, they might have actually been buffed indirectly from the change. So presumably, this sextant still works exactly the way it says. Presumably, Strongbox monsters didn't have some sort of inherent crazy quantity multiplier embedded into them anyway. And so this sextant is what really brought that strategy alive. Per se, enraged and corrupted. Their strong boxes are incredibly lucrative anyway. This may very well be a strong box league beyond the best state of Monstrous Treasure ever saw. I mean, this may be what this is in terms of juicing. So I'm going to show you guys right now what that looks like, as a matter of fact. Shrine monsters also don't have any sort of major quantity improvement. So what that basically means is... Quite literally, the strategy I was doing at the end of last league was barely nerfed at all. It sounds like probably the biggest thing that would have been nerfed was the Delirium Mirror. So a lot of extra quantity comes from the Delirium monsters last league, certainly. Sounds like that specifically probably got nerfed. But I kind of doubt the Elder Scarab monsters got nerfed a lot. I don't think the Strongbox monsters got nerfed a lot. The Shrine monsters probably not. Harbingers maybe, but I don't even want to run Harbingers now because their biggest nerf is the nerf to Exalted Orbs. So yeah, let's put Ambush in here. Not running any Master. This just happens to be a few of these corrupted, unidentified Crimson Temples. Gonna have a lot of pack size on it. And I've ran probably upwards of maybe 80 of these. Oh, I did spawn Delirium. Yeah, that's fine. I've already found 2 7 Years Bad Luck, 4 Enlightens, 1 Dragon Heart, and no Apothecary. So, in 80 maps or whatever, that's not that bad. Alright, well, I'm glad I didn't actually click that shrine because I want that shrine, obviously. So, it's very typical to die on this build in the very beginning before you get any kind of buffs. Not surprising at all. That is, like I said, your absolute weakest in this moment here right now, basically. I have to be kind of extra cautious about how I handle this stuff now. I get this shrine, and suddenly I'm like, okay, that shrine with the Gloom Shrine, I'm basically all powerful now. I could still die because I don't have a huge amount of inherent defenses, but with a Legion, Legion still carries a lot of rare monsters on it. Oh, actually, one of my random shrine effects is the Divine Shrine anyway, so I'm immortal right now for the next 2 minutes. Either way. Another decent reason to run them. Looks like a Marikath. And a Timeless Marikath emblem. Whoa! 50 Chaos. Okay, second usage of the Room Shrine, or the flasks there. Mistimed the boss a little bit because I went ahead and did that Legion first. I'm going to build up a few more stacks, so it doesn't matter a whole lot because obviously I'm immune to damage anyway. You see he still dies pretty fast if you go in there with enough stacks. Okay, you know what? Does this not look very similar to you guys? I mean, I don't know. This looks pretty damn similar to me. Feels pretty similar. Obviously, there's less loot a little bit, but I don't know. I'm still seeing a lot of currencies dropping. Altars are big money now. I'm actually, I think my first currency making strategy guide or video is going to center entirely around just altar invitation spamming, because I'm pretty sure altars are, altars were totally unaffected by the nerfs, because altar rewards, like monsters have, I don't know, right now I'm running, they have a 3% chance to drop a divination card and a 2% chance to drop a scarab right now, currently. And that is not affected by quantity modifiers on monsters in any way, shape, or form. It's just a straight up % chance to drop those things. So they're still worth a lot. The Eldritch currencies are huge right now. Every single one of them is straight up worth at least 2 chaos. Right now. Every single one of them. regardless of the tier of the currency or the type. They will go down to, presumably, below 1 chaos apiece at some point in the league. Oh. I missed this boss, so I may die here because I only have 28 buffs, and that's not good. I swung back around here to make sure he wasn't still alive, but I guess I missed him anyway, so I'm going to go around and hope that I can maybe find a strong box to reopen. Get myself like 50 buffs like this. If I don't die in the process, jeez, I died in the process anyway. Try to be a little extra ambitious there. You can see I am successfully leveling, although obviously I went a little backwards on this map, but I'm level 93. I will definitely progress now that I have this gear in order. It will not be all that difficult to progress at least to 95 with this setup, even running really dangerous stuff. Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow, okay, I really messed this map up because I spawned both the Templar and the Marikath bosses and didn't kill either of them. And I should have killed both of them while I was here, so that's a major fluke on my part, and probably wouldn't have normally happened except that I am very much distracted trying to, you know, play the game. I think I do want that map actually. Map sustain is a little bit rough these days, so you do want the map sustain. Incidentally, I got not all the favorited slots unlocked. I've unlocked all of my atlas for the maps. I've unlocked everything. Associated bosses that were part of the mapping unlocks, but not. I haven't done any, you know, shaper or any like formed invitations, anything like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna forget about them because, you know, it's just not a good use of my time to kill them, even though I would like to. I think I've dropped a total of 5 or 6 Divine Orbs. Also the same number of Exalted Orbs. They have the same drop rate. Like I mentioned, a couple of 7 years bad luck, 4 enlightened cards, a Dragon's Heart. I did get my best drop of the league came from a Legion Arch Nemesis monster that had a special infusion, and he dropped a couple of low-tier uniques, a Crossbreeze and a Dorianus Prototype. Dorianus Prototypes were 6 Divine Orbs this league, so that was my big drop of league. Incidentally, I also had an Arch Nemesis monster drop double 6-linked weapons on like day 2 of the league. One of them was a Marikath bow. It's apparently worth 1.5 divine. So, you know, again, a lot of doom and gloom about the loot. I think we got something actually pretty special in our hands with the Arch Nemesis loot. I mean, some of that loot's pretty crazy. I did kill an Innocence Touched Arch Nemesis rare at one point. Dropped like 20 gilded scarabs and a winged scarab. You know, that was kind of nutty to see those dropped. You know, they're pretty rare, and they ought to be pretty rare. Obviously, kind of ridiculous to get those kind of drops right and left. But again, I'm struggling with words to say. I want to reserve judgment on this. I want to at least do at least one formal sort of, you know, mapping strategy, 100 of those maps, and you know what? If I find a tiny fraction of what I normally find, then okay, you know, I'll say, well, looks like everyone was totally right in every single way. But to be honest with you guys, I already know that's not true, because I already know I'm making at least like 4 or 5 divines an hour, and that's before I finish the gear. So presumably the Crimson Temple map's probably going to make upwards of 8 to 10 divine an hour, counting apothecary drops on average right now, at least that. So everything seems to be all right. I think, honestly, I think people just need to adapt, you know. It sucks. I feel bad for the people whose, you know, season in, season out core strategy has just been completely obliterated. I feel bad for them and that, but at the end of the day, you know, you just got to adapt. They removed Monstrous Treasure from the game, essentially. I wasn't happy about that, but, you know, I adapted. Fine, Monstrous Treasure's not in the game. I'm still running Strongbox if it is lucrative, and it is. So, incidentally, Monstrous Treasure, Strongbox, quantity farming was literally my favorite type of farm in the game, up until the point which they removed Prophecy League. It's okay. That's fine. we adapt. So, more videos coming. Definitely going to... I think I'll do something like 50 maps of altar spam very soon. Don't be too down, guys. Everything's still fine. Still able to make plenty of currency doing even juiced content. Not that bad. And here's the last thing. The market will always equalize on these things anyway. It's not like it's not like half the strategies in the game just got wiped out. It's more like, oh, okay, so juicing is really a lot tighter than it was. Well, that means have you noticed the cost of divination scarabs this league? They're a little bit lower than they were last league. That's one side effect of mapping. So the investment costs are way less for strategies that supposedly don't make any currency. The investment costs will go down tremendously for those. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll suddenly become the best strategy there is, but you know, no strategy lives forever, I guess. So, yeah, this gear will continue getting better. Definitely going to get some awakened gems up in here. Probably a better implicit on the Soulthirst. Replace the ring. Yeah. Replace the boots, actually, probably. I could definitely get some Eldritch influence boots at some point to replace that series step. More than likely. Yeah. Keep your heads high. Stay tuned. There will be more to come. Bye for now.